friends, welcome back to another bookish video. I'm Sam and today's video is fall thriller and horror book recommendations. I'm going to try to stay away from the Halloweenish stuff because Halloween is over, sad, but there's still a lot of fall themed thriller and horror spooky books, so let's get into them. So the first recommendation is going to be The September House by Carissa Orlando. This book is about a haunted house that the owner knows is haunted and refuses to leave because it's her house and she's not leaving. And it gets really bad every September. And this year, her husband is missing, so her daughter is coming to figure out what's going on, and she's coming in the month of September when all the craziness goes down every year. So she is trying to figure out how to keep her and her daughter safe and how to prevent her daughter from finding out what's going on with the house while she's there. The next recommendation is going to be Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. And this one is definitely more Halloweenish, but I had to recommend it just because it's so fall-ish. A group of school children take a field trip to a pumpkin patch farm. The bus breaks down on the way back to the school, and the bus driver's like, all right, they're gonna come for the rest of y'all at night, bye, and he dips out. So the main character and her friends are trying to figure out what's going on, why the scarecrows seem to be coming alive, why they seem to be chasing them, etc. It's a really creepy book. For a middle grade book, it's really creepy. The next recommendation is a newer release, and it is Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman. The main character is a little girl, and she's being haunted, for lack of a better term, by an entity that she calls Other Mother, and it keeps asking her if it can come live inside of her. In this one, the parents are trying to figure out what's going on with this entity and their little girl. Is she making it up? Is she being possessed or haunted? What's going on? It is a really good book. I know it's hard to get your hands on right now because it is a newer release, but it is so good and it is so worth the wait. So definitely get your hands on it. The next recommendation is going to be Belladonna by Adeline Grace. And this one, to me, was kind of a gothic mystery retelling of The Secret Garden, in that it's a girl who's an orphan and she gets sent to live with her uncle in this huge gothic creepy house, and her cousin is sick and she has to try to help her get well. And the interesting twist with this book is that death is portrayed as kind of like a character in his own right. She uses Belladonna to hurt herself, but instead of dying, she just sees death, like death appears to her again, like an actual character, an actual person. There's kind of like a romance going on between her and death. It's so weird to explain it, but it is a really good book, and it is a trilogy. I have not read past the first book, but I definitely plan on reading the trilogy because the first book is just so good and absolutely perfect for this time of year. The next recommendation is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Again, a newer release. And this one, again, is kind of a Halloween-y book, but it's just an ode to the 90s, 80s and 90s slasher flicks. This kid gets infected by this disease or whatever that makes him become a serial killer. He and his best friend are trying to follow the rules of the slasher film industry and try to not hurt anybody. And it's surprisingly a really good book. The next recommendation is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and this is another spooky, gothic, mansion type book. A poor girl falls in love with and marries a rich man who was formerly married to a lady named Rebecca. And there's weird stuff going on at the house that she lives in now. And she thinks that the house is being haunted by the ghost of Rebecca, and that Rebecca is not happy that she has been replaced by this new wife. The next recommendation is The Death of Mrs. Westway by Ruth Ware. And in this one, a con artist receives a letter that somebody in her family has died and she needs to travel to this gothic mansion and claim her inheritance. So she doesn't think it's her, but because she's a con artist, she goes along with it to get the inheritance. And come to find out, maybe it is her family after all. There's a lot of family secrets and skeletons in the closet, all set in this spooky gothic mansion. The next recommendation is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and this is one of my favorite Riley Sager books. It's about like the Netflix version of The Haunting of Hill House, where stuff went down in this house and the father wrote a book about it. Well, that's what this book is about. Except the daughter, after the father passes away and bequeaths the house to her, the daughter goes to the house to try to renovate it and possibly sell it. And while she's there, she's also wanting to figure out if all this supernatural spooky stuff really happened, because she doesn't remember her time in the house as a child. The next recommendation is the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. And it's a murder mystery series. I believe it's a trilogy. There may be 4 books in it now. There was a murder in like the 1930s or so at this school that this rich philanthropist built, and it never got solved. And this is a very intense school, and they only accept a handful of students. And one of the students that gets accepted is fascinated by this murder mystery, and she gets accepted on the basis of her trying to solve the murder. And so that's what this trilogy is about. And again, it's a really good murder mystery, dark academia vibes. Next recommendation, if you're just in the mood for creepy houses or haunted houses, Darcy Coates is the queen of the haunted house books. Again, kind of Halloween-y, but not really. It's more fall, because I don't think any of her books necessarily take place around Halloween. It just has those gothic, spooky, dark vibes. The next recommendation is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. And Shirley Jackson is just absolutely perfect this time of year. She is amazing at the spooky gothic books. Again, The Haunting of Hill House absolutely could have gone on here. But We Have Always Lived in the Castle is about these sisters that live in this small town in this huge gothic mansion. And years ago there was a murder in the family, and the townsfolk think that the younger sister did it, and the older sister is the one taking care of the rest of the family and the house and just keeping things running and dealing with the townsfolk. I don't want to spoil it, so I don't want to say much more than that, but it is a creepy gothic book. The next recommendation is Hell House by Richard Matheson. And I say this every time, this is not a book to go into lightly. This book is positively horrifying. Absolutely terrifying. It will keep you up at night. So go into it knowing that. But if you're wanting some more haunted house, paranormal vibes, this is it. This is it. The next recommendation is The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. And really almost any Simone St. James book could have gone on here. She writes a lot of thrillers and murder mysteries and such, and they're all just so good. I won't say they necessarily have gothic feel, but they have a very dark vibe, a very dark mood. So I think most of her books could go on this recommendation list. But in this one, it's about a parapsychologist and his assistant trying to fix the haunting of Maddie Claire, trying to get her to stop haunting the residents that she's haunting. And by doing so, they have to solve her murder. So it's a paranormal haunting and a murder mystery. It's really good. The last recommendation is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I almost put this on the cozy fall book recommendation list, but I feel it had to go with the thriller. It's not super thriller-ish, but it is a murder mystery, and it's dark academia, and it is a group of friends who, when one dies, they have to figure out who done it. And it is, again, very much dark academia vibes. I love this book so much. It absolutely deserves all the hype that it has. Hi.
Hey, are you recording?
I'm recording. Go away. I'll be done in just a second. Okay, so here's the final look. I've been playing around with these flexi curlers that I bought, and I am loving how my hair turned out. But anyway, let me know if you have any fall thriller / horror recommendations that aren't very Halloweenish. Again, it's hard to find a good fall thriller recommendation, but if you like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.